Hi, welcome to the first episode of NAMI New York State Perspectives. I'm your host, Matthew Shapiro, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by a good friend of NAMI New York State and all-around good guy, a mensch, a bit of a renaissance man, our good friend, Greg Aidala. Hey, Greg, how are you
Hey,
today?
good, Matthew. How you doing? It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you too. Although, like I joke a lot. Like last time I see you, I feel like we see you a lot. You know, Greg's in a local commercial for a casino where he's the big winner. So you'll see Greg go a lot, and it's
Oh,
all
yeah.
really funny because I don't even think the casino's open right now, but that commercial's still on all the time. So
Are they still airing it? Are they really?
yeah, we see all the time. I guess they must have like prepaid airtime or
Yeah, it's for
something.
that. Now we're just gonna start gambling from home, even
I
more
guess
so.
so. Wow.
How you doing? All right, it's good to see you. You're in good health?
Yeah, knock on wood. And that's the purpose of Perspectives, is to touch in with people from the NAMI New York State family and gain their perspective on how they're persevering through our current situation, offer some wisdom, some laughs, and some good advice for getting through. So Greg is a great source of all those things. Like I said in my half-hearted intro, Greg is a real Renaissance man. He is the host and the producer of the Comedy Brouhaha Tour, which tours around regionally, making people laugh, which is so important right now. He is one of the stars of the Amazon hit series Welcome Home, which I think is a perfect title for the situation we're in right now. So we're going to talk about the show in a little bit. But many people from our NAMI family will probably recognize Greg from emceeing last year's Off the Mask event, and where he emceed and auctioned and did such a terrific job for us. So thank you for all you've done for us, Greg.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great people associated, with you and work with you, Matt. So everyone's been great to me, and it's always great to be a part of the NAMI team. Absolutely. You guys are doing good work.
Well, we're so lucky to have you as a part of the NAMI team. So, in fact, we have a new role for you in the team, which we're really excited to talk about. So, besides being an incredible comedian, a host, an MC, an auctioneer, all the many talents that you have, actor, you're also a life coach, and you're going to be doing some life coaching sessions for us, because I think these are things that are really needed during these times. And I think when people hear life coach, I think they have some misconceptions of what a life coach is. So can you kind of explain what you do?
Yeah. So basically, a life coach helps you. It all goes back to the genesis of my growing up and from a family business and building my own business. And I started mentoring and coaching in 2008. And a coach is not something, with a psychologist or psychiatrist, they really dig deep and sort of try to rewire. It's nothing like that at all. It's more of that motivator. So I do a lot of motivational speaking and keynote talks, and I infuse, my story of growing up and humor into the talk. A life coach is someone that's there is to really listen to where you want to be and to support you to make sure you stay on that track. And there's an even balance between, your life and outside of work life, of play life, family life, and just to find that balance, to make sure that you really do it and to stick to your goals. I love that. I've had my entire life, and still to the day, been surrounded by people that, coached me and supported me. And I really wanted to start giving that back at the urging of friends and other people in the business, mental health business, and years ago. And they said, you should really consider this. And since I said, you know what, I'm done with college, I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to get more degrees. So I really was pushed in the direction of coaching, and it's really been a thrill. I'm very, very thankful to have a great clientele and great people that, even when I'm coaching them, I learn so much from them. And I think it's really important. I hope that explains a little bit about,
No, definitely. And what I really love about it is that you say you learn so much from the people that you're coaching, that it goes both ways. And from your page, which is coachmegreg.com, I highly encourage people to go visit the page. But I like, this is what you said on the page. I built my career using techniques that were installed for me through strong family values, including hard work, sacrifice, forgiveness, passion, purpose, and positive thinking. And all of those things are pretty important right now. So can you kind of
Yeah.
elaborate on your kind of ideology of those important factors?
Sure. Well, I'm human too. So I felt this, in a strong way of what we're going through. And in fact, truth be told, just this morning, I found out another one of my friends, his sister, came down with COVID-19 just this past Saturday. So it makes, I've lost one of my friends. Father had passed away. I have another friend that's very ill in the
I know we have
hospital.
a mutual friend who's very ill.
Yes, we do. And it's just, we're all bound to go down that road. And, the more time you just think about it at home, and you really have to, this is the way I can answer that question, Matt, right? So everyone wants to be joyful and happy in life. It's great. I think a real huge component, though, that's not spoken enough is resilience. And this is the time when, we're in this type of a mode, which is so foreign to everybody, both personally and publicly outside your own self, to where you have to dig deep. You have to dig deep and find those tools that hopefully you've been working on as a human, and you've been around, I'm a huge proponent of being around a positive family support system and friends support system. I'm very thankful to have that. And all of that stuff is very much needed today. Do I inject humor into my talks and absolutely. My talks are still fun. Even these Zoom meetings of sort with coaching. And I just think that, everyone's had obviously different backgrounds and how we all are brought up and raised and mentored. And it's really, really a good time to really sit back, think about where you want to be in life and what you want to do, because we'll get through this, right? There's light at the end of the tunnel. I think this is a hard reset for the entire world. I believe that good things will come of it. I think the world it'll take time for sure, but I think the world will become a more educated. Hopefully that all this caring that I hear about and that I try to espouse and to live daily, I hope it carries on through the rest of time, because the outpouring of community that I've spoken about my entire life, even in past interviews and everything, it's very vital. And this is a time to really dig deep. Everyone really, really needs to dig deep and to find, what they can do to offer, first and foremost, their family. And then, moving forward as we get through this, to bring back to the community, because it's going to take a little bit of time, for everyone to get reacclimated. And to really get back into the swing of things. That's why, one of the things, Matt, that I tell people is don't lose your discipline. Don't lose your schedule. Get up in the morning, what you do. If you're exercising, stick to that schedule.
Yes.
Be regimented, shower.
Get dressed every morning.
Absolutely. Get dressed. Stay in that schedule and that mindset. Because, look, I'm human, and I sometimes it hits me, what's really happening and the magnitude of it. But you just got to try to, focus on the positive. And learn something. I mean, there's so much, right? That this the possibilities that we have, like, if this happened back, in 1987, we'd be totally different, but there's so many things that we can learn to stay connected with each other and just better educate ourselves. Now's the time to, if you wanted to read a book or learn an instrument or a language, something. And I think that frame of mind to stay positive and say, look, this is really what's happening. This kind of one of the wheels off, the cart, but we can get back on track if we just stay focused and really talk this out. I think that this is the time more than ever for massive, transparent communication. It just, and the world is, it just came to a screeching halt. And perhaps part of it, part of me does think that it was a freight train out of control.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, there's so many things that you've touched on already that I think are so important. But number one is using this as an opportunity, right? I mean, I think the best things that we can do as human beings, and as you grow, and as people who have been impacted by mental illness, and whether you're someone living with a mental health issue or you have a family member, we're used to crisis. There's always gonna be that crisis, coming up. I watched my mom have a complete nervous breakdown in front of me when I was 17 years old, and had to see her, have the EMT come, and that's a crisis, but you get through it and you learn from it, and you get stronger from it. So I mean, that's one of the things we're really trying to do with this show, is teach people how to use this as an opportunity. And for you, it's got to be interesting. I mean, you've definitely picked a challenging career for yourself, right? Any type of a performer, whether it be comedian, actor, that's not an easy life. It's going to be a struggle, and you really have to persevere. You talked about earlier setting goals for yourself, and keeping to those goals and keeping to your routine to get that, even though, I'm sure you've faced a lot of failure in your life. Any performer has been rejected from parts, have not gotten opportunities that you have wanted. How is persevering as a performer in that type of very challenging and competitive career, how are you using lessons learned from that perseverance and using it to persevere through our current situation?
Well, in regards to entertainment, so I learned early on, this is I've been in 18 and a half years. And early on, I learned to capitalize on my organizational skills that I had growing up. So I started producing shows 2 years in. So as a producer, I've learned, I have the sensibilities of behind the camera and in front of the camera. So that's enabled me to set myself apart from just, being this entertainer to where I get hired to construct live events. So, right. So when, say if I don't get a part or something, I let it go. I just let it go. I'm like, okay, it wasn't meant to be. Just keep moving forward. And a lot of that, Matt, comes from, I'm one of 8 children. And, my mother had passed away when we were kids in 1981.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay, because it's what, builds us. And my dad raised us and never got remarried, and we had to grow up really fast. So I, been thinking, and I was 7 when my mother died. So I, growing up as a 7-year-old, we were doing chores, like hardcore chores aside from school every single day to stay organized, to stay on course. So all of those skills to get back on track, because that traumatic experience happened to me at a young age, I'm actually quicker to get back to my normal self when something goes amiss. Now, that's not saying that I don't feel it, or do I have bad days and I just want to, curl up in a ball? Absolutely. But I know that that's not going to work. So
and you know that you can get through it, right? So you've had these really huge challenges in your life, like you say. I mean, I can't even imagine, your experience, even though some of our stories are similar, but we all have our own experience. But one commonality is getting through those challenges, and knowing that you've done it before helps, and I always think that every challenge is an opportunity. We have to learn from both things we do right and things we do wrong, and that's so important.
That you're spot on with that, Matt, 100%. There's lessons in everything. And you need to know that when there is a dark time in your life, and we've all been there, I've been there myself, there is always hope. Always. There's always hope and light. And sometimes it just takes a phone call to a friend or a family member. And just as hard as it can be to try to explain something or to get something off your chest, it's well worth it. As we all know, and it's super important to do that, and that's what I think one of our core function is as a fellow in humanity, is to be there for one another. And I also know that, being co-creative and a team player is because of being one of 8 kids.
Yeah.
It's just, I grew up in a very, very organized frat house.
So I'm kind of curious. You touched on something. I always like digging a little. So I mean, as a comedian, as a performer, did that kind of come out of having to kind of rise above the crowd a little bit when you have 8 brothers and sisters and you want to stand out a little bit? Was comedy and being kind of the funny guy a bit of your way to show your individuality?
It's a good question. It comes a lot with the territory, but no, actually not. It wasn't about fighting for FaceTime. It was this. My family's very funny. I'm probably one of the least funny in my family, truthfully. But
I
we
got to get
use,
invited to an Adela family dinner then.
oh, it'd be great. I hope we can do those. There's, you know what, with nieces and nephews and brother-in-laws, just my family alone, there's 32 of us right off the bat. So, and I've missed that, the
Sure.
past, month or so.
Yeah.
But to your question is, forgive me, remind me of the.
Was being funny your way
Oh,
of,
yes.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Actually, no, in the way of, we all tried to make each other laugh.
Right.
So our fail-safe was just it was to hunker down watching comedies, just anything to take away that pain, but being truthful and talking about it, because if you mask the pain, it's going to surface again.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't want that. And that's where I think, what you and your, great staff do is to say, look, off the mask.
Yeah.
Just take it. It's okay. We're very vulnerable,
Right.
Fragile beings.
And that's really where the off the mask idea came from. I mean, we say, 1 in 5 people are going to get diagnosed with a specific mental illness, but we're all going to have mental health challenges, right? We're all going to face depression. We're all going to face stress, especially right now. So we all have feelings, but we choose to mask them too often. So we really need to encourage people, especially now, it's so important to off their mask. Don't be afraid to mask your feelings. We're all feeling things right now that we probably never felt before. And we got to talk about it. We're all separated, but we're all together right now.
That's right.
And we're all going through the same thing together. We're all having the same experience one way or another. Let's talk about it.
Yes, 100%. And it really, and you know what? Even in the darkest of times, you have to laugh about these things.
Yeah.
I would never make fun of the sensitivity of, the deaths or the sickness itself, but there's always room for levity.
Right. I mean, and you talked about balance before too, and that's an important thing. You need the light in the dark.
Yes, 100%. And I, it's been so cathartic for me, that outlet with humor. And I just try to, inject that with everything I do, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for that, that family structure of, we took a lot of stock in escape with humor to get through a very, very painful time.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say, as everyone's had, traumatic experiences, that you can get through it. You really can get through it. It might take time. Nothing's, and nothing's a left click. I think if we learn anything with COVID-19 and the world that we were living pre-COVID-19, is not everything is a left click. It takes long, raw human time to figure things out, but you can, and goodness will come from it. I'm sure of that. I'm sure that, because that's historically accurate, right? Yeah. This isn't the first time, right, Matt, that this has been going on in history. It's just, it's new. We have to adapt and move forward, and hopefully contain it and be wiser moving forward.
Yeah, no, totally. So, obviously, I think anyone who's watching this conversation can tell you have a lot to offer. So we didn't want to just, of course, limit you to this one conversation. And we were very appreciative, because you've been very gracious to offer your life coaching skills to NAMI New York State members. Yes. We're going to be doing a session with you this Friday, April 17th, I believe at 2:00. Is that right?
2:00, yes.
2:00. All right, go me. Doing it without notes. So can you kind of talk about what people can expect to get to interact? I mean, not only do you get to interact with the great Greg Aidala, but talk about some of the stuff that we'll be doing in that session.
Yeah, so again, it's Friday, the 17th. It'll be from 2 to 3 p.m. And what we'll do is this, we- depending on the number of people that we get into the room, I didn't want to run it like a usual group coaching session. What I wanted to do, and you guys were so gracious enough to accept it, is to bring everyone into the room and let's just have an honest talk of what's going on. Let me hear what's going on in the room, some of the concerns that people are stressing about. After the guidance of, I'll preface it with how, I'll give an overview of how it's affected myself and then skills that I've learned and also how I coach and how we can inject that into your life and finding that balance. Balance is very key for me in every aspect of my life.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is we'll bring everyone into the room and I'm just going to listen. It's going to be a free form talk of sort. And then when everyone's comfortable with themselves, we'll get to know each other a little bit as it usually goes. And then I'll listen and then I'll talk when needed and then inject and coach from there. So I know that seems like a broad overview, but this is such a unique situation that we're going through that I have to, listen to be able to coach, if that makes sense, especially with something of this magnitude. And it's affecting everyone in such a different way. I'm very fortunate to be able to see some family members because everyone's been, away from each other for so long and self-quarantined. Thankfully, not ill, but just self-quarantined from the get-go and being smart about it. And I know too many of my friends, especially, you're a New York City guy. I'm talking to my friends in New York City, every week. And I had gotten out of the city, was the first week of March. And, my friends, as you know, and everyone who's listening out there, if you're familiar with New York City, the apartments are not big.
Yeah.
And they're in their apartments 23 and a half hours a day. Matt, they can't even get
I
out and
can't
walk.
imagine, yeah.
You know?
My mom is really struggling, and she's lucky. She has a terrace. She's, in Manhattan. So, I tell her, just go outside, get that little bit of fresh air. And
Yeah.
now she likes to go out at 7 o'clock when they cheer the health workers. She lives right by Cornell
nice.
Weill Hospital. So that's given her a purpose. Like we talk about goals and purpose. And sometimes they're small to get us out of these funks. I'm really glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
Because like for her, part of the thing that's really helped her get out of this funk is going out on the terrace and cheering on.
Yes.
She was so funny. We just had the Jewish Passover, holiday Passover. And she said, the shofar, the ram's horn that we have one in the house, and she said she went out on the terrace and blew the shofar, and that really, helped her. And this was a hard week for her. It was her birthday was on Saturday. There was Passover, and she's alone, so it's hard. We're trying to stay connected as much as possible, but it's a challenge. And I'm sure all our friends down in the city are experiencing similar challenges.
Yeah, I can imagine they are too, and I hope they're all staying healthy and safe. And it's really good. I'm glad first of all, happy belated birthday to your mother. And I'm really glad to hear that she's doing that because that's exactly the example that you should talk about and what people should hear is to, you're feeling a certain way, go out of your comfort zone and get back to what makes you feel balanced and sane of sorts. To some sort of normalcy.
Right.
So I'm really happy to hear that your mom did that, and it's important. If you're in suburbia USA, my gosh, I'm taking 3-mile walks a day.
Yeah, we are too.
Get out.
Yeah.
As boring as some people might think that could be, but I think it's really needed. You've got to get out of your own head, your own four walls. It's really part of staying, physically healthy as much as it is mentally healthy.
Our daily walks, unfortunately it's raining. I might still even go out in the rain, but it's become really a highlight of the day is taking those walks. And even that little interaction you get with people. It's funny, you'll see, we live in a suburban community and we'll walk and we'll see everyone on nice days outside, it seems, even the kids, socially distanced, but it seems like a lot of times maybe we just wave at someone and keep walking, but now people like really want to connect. And as we move forward from this and as we move past this and learn and get stronger, that's one of the things, I know you mentioned it earlier, is realizing the importance of human connection. I think that's something we've lost as a society, you know, as we become more, you know, social media and Facebook, which is all great. In some ways it's kept us connected, but in some ways it's kept us more distant. But I think people are realizing now the importance of interpersonal relationships and actually being there. It's kind of like that mindfulness kind of thought of actually being in the moment with the person, not texting them, not, you know, going through a screen to communicate, but actually being there. And that value, I hope, gets, you know, a refocus on that value moving forward.
I 100% agree with that, Matt. I've been espousing that for years, and I think, you know, the little time I've got to know you, I know that you and your mission with NAMI is that way. And, you know, how many people before really knew their neighbors? Or knew their neighbors? You know, I know my neighbors before all of this. You know, when I have if I'm not traveling for work and I want to have friends over for, you know, even a fire pit or a small gathering, I need that in my life. I need to know who's around me, and I hope that doesn't get lost, because one of the things, you know, when we talk about discipline and try to have solvency with these good habits that people are trying to form, is to make sure that they continue, because the human condition is hard to change. So, you know, but it's definitely doable. If you focus on something, if you want to change any aspect of your life, it can be done. It can be done. Why? Because it's happened in the past. And I hope that, one of my hopes is that when all this, you know, we get a handle on it and can get back to some sort of normalcy, is that people don't basically go back to old habits and ways that that are damaging, you know, to them. So I hope that there's a lot to be learned, and a lot of goodness, and both, you know, personal innovation, a personal renaissance sort, if you could call it that. I'm looking forward to seeing that even within myself, how I can even go bigger and better within myself. So you bring up great points, and those are the type of things, Matt, that we'll be talking about as well on Friday.
Right. So yeah, actually, I was about to segue myself, and this is all about being connected, being together, and we have this great opportunity to come together with Greg on Friday, April 17th at 2:00. We'll be sending out information about that with this video too. There's no cost to it. Greg has been incredibly gracious to offer his wisdom and services to help us, because you know, a lot of challenges right now. So again, thank you. And really, I really hope people take advantage of this incredible opportunity to work with you and learn from you and laugh from you as well.
Yeah, thank you. I do too, because I'm really looking forward to this forum and working with you folks. And it will, I don't want anyone to feel any type of weirdness or pressure. It's not. It's going to be very laid back, open. You know, I grew up in a very open, comfortable household, and I try to express that and live that way daily, and especially into, you know, this part of my career, for sure. And it will be fun. I mean, you know, we will, you know, it will be fun to talk these things out and to learn. Like I said before, you know, I learn from, you know, clients and people just as much as, you know, they learn from me. So
we all learn from each other, and that's
right.
The NAMI way, is learning from each other. You know, we all have our own experiences that are our best teachers, and to share those experiences and those lessons learned with each other, as well as coping strategies. It's so important. So we don't have that much time left, but I do want to downshift a little bit. One of the things we're also trying to do with perspectives is get people's perspective on what's keeping them entertained right now, what's keeping you laughing, keeping you moving. You know, everyone's looking for entertainment. So usually I'm gonna have a guest make a recommendation, and I'm gonna make a recommendation. This one we're gonna do a little different. There's one thing I do want to recommend, and it is genuine. My wife and I started watching, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Welcome Home, which is the series you star on Amazon.com. It's fantastic, really funny.
Thanks.
It's filmed locally. It's so funny, like within the first 2 minutes, my wife got so excited. She's like, look, it's the Schenectady train station. I don't think anyone's ever been that excited to see the Schenectady train station in their life, but it's a really fun show. Can you talk a little bit about it? Tell our viewers about the show.
Yeah, so that show, I was asked to be part of that show. Oh, it's going back 5 years now. I auditioned for them up at Proctor's, the
Oh, wow.
theater, and there was a bunch of people that wrote the first season, and they're all from the 518, as am I. And I went in and read, and they said 2 days later I got a call, and they said, "We'd love to have you." And I said, "Great." And they were still very cool with my schedule. If I was on the road or with anything, they would work around my schedule. And season 1 did well, and we started shipping it out, sending it rather to PR people, and it started playing on cable in the States. And then when season 2 came around, they asked me to come on as a producer. So I came on as a producer as well. And then we started pitching it around, and it really started gaining momentum. And that's when, then on Amazon, and then, we were traveling last fall to do TV Morning in Tampa, Columbus, Baltimore. And it's about 3 people, and it's based on true story of a couple of the writers that were living in New York City doing their thing, all, college educated backgrounds. And they decided to come back home, take a new course in life, and they live with their parents, hence Welcome Home. So, and then all heck ensues.
But in a funny way, and it's very real. I mean, the show is funny, but very real. But again, people who kind of for our times too, I see so many metaphors. You think your life's going along one way, the guy's kind of a success in the city, hits a bit of a stumbling block. Next thing you're home, with you living at your parents, kind of like welcome home for all of us here, and have this new normal, so to speak. Even though I wouldn't call many of the things on the show normal in a good way, and it's interesting. Like I said, I know one of the characters seems to have a gambling problem, so I know there's a lot of stories coming out, and you're a very interesting character in it. Like kind of joking around before. It's still, I don't know, haven't made up my mind about Jared yet.
Either have I. I still haven't made my mind on the character. I haven't. But but what was cool though, back to your point about the Schenectady train station, is we took a lot of pride, and the local newspapers and news stations has had us on and done features on us because we showcased the 518, and the facilities, the restaurants, every type of place where we shot. They welcomed us with open arms.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, they were very cool to be part of. And it's similar to, to what we were talking about before. It's that whole civic-minded, community approach.
You really see it, with the show, which is part of the reason, obviously, we like it. Again, it's available for free on Amazon Prime. You can watch it, 2 seasons, highly recommend it. Can't get enough of Greg. You can watch him on Amazon, but again, more importantly, join us on Friday where we can learn from Greg. You want to know more about life coaching, coachmegreg.com. Go visit. You can learn more about life coaching, more about Greg and the work that he does. And otherwise, thank you for tuning in and watching us today. And we hope you join us on Friday. And Greg, thank you for everything you do for us. I love you, brother. You're one of my favorite people. I always love talking to you. And
Matt, I love you too. Thank you.
All right. Well,
I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And again, thank you everybody for watching, and we look forward to giving you a new perspective next time. Thank you.
Here, buddy.